world wants and is willing to pay for it. That's very important. And you have means to deliver. But in the real world, it's not as simple. Because of various factors at play, it's not always about demand and supply. But you may be thinking, why am I hearing about this from someone that you have never heard of before? I'm not a social influencer. I'm not a famous personality. I'm not a successful entrepreneur also, yet. But in my 16 years of experience, I've played various roles, whether a techie, a technical architect, a CTO or co-founder. And in these roles, I've made many mistakes. Here, I'm sharing my life story with you so that you can learn from those mistakes and become a better entrepreneur than me. But before we start, the question that we need to ask is why entrepreneurship? You can be successful by doing a lot of other things in life. You can have a fat paycheck in your monthly account every month and live a peaceful life. Then why risk everything? There are a lot of answers to this question. Some are more personal than others for you. But let me give you a different perspective. There are two forces in this world more powerful than anything else. One is time and another is compounding. Entrepreneurship enables you to challenge both of these forces. If you are successful, and that's a big if, it enables you to create something which is greater than the sum of what you and your previous generations could do. Look at the top richest person in the world, or top richest person list in the world. Would you find anybody there who is just earning a salary? No. Because no matter how much you are earning or how frugally you are living, you will never be part of that list. Entrepreneurship alone can help you break the cycle that has been handed down to us by our previous generation of choices. To start my journey, imagine a kid, smart, who scores high on IQ tests, who effortlessly tops school, whose teachers label him as smart kid, right? He starts believing that intelligence will solve for everything. And then I came to IIT. I still remember my first convocation in IIT. We were a group of freshers being welcomed by Dean in a hall very much like this. And Dean was welcoming us in his speech. And during his speech, he casually mentioned a question about probability. Mind you, this is a room filled with so-called cream of nation, right? And suddenly there was a pin drop silence. I was trying to make sense of the question. But suddenly I hear somebody in the front row shouting the answer. Dean looked at him and said correct and moved on. Here, I'm sitting in this room, not even able to comprehend the question, and some of my peers able to compute the answer in their head. That breaks any notion you have about your intelligence, what you can do, what capabilities you have, what you will achieve. Over the couple of next months, it became very obvious to me that intelligence alone does not solve for anything. Only hard work can. Post this learning, I started working hard. Whether it was studies, working with professors on research paper, hacking computers, I was doing everything. There were days when I was pushing myself to not sleep because there was so much to do, so much to learn. But then came days when I was not able to sleep. What started as insomnia slowly grew into depression. I now safely can say that no matter what happens, You should never sacrifice your mental and physical well-being for a short-term gain. If your body and your brain is not bringing an A game, you would lose no matter what. Right? Another thing that I learned in college is all about networking. I was a geek in college, someone you could always find in computer lab with a very small social network. That was a big mistake. I learned quite late in life that for you to be successful does not only matter what you know, it also matters who you know. So make the best out of college. You guys are still in college, network, connect with like-minded folks, make those connections lifelong. Believe me, this is the best investment you could do right now. Then comes around 2005, 2006. Many of you were in school by then. But the internet was booming. Facebook just started opening up their platform for everybody. Y Combinator was set up by Paul Graham. And all of this was happening right in front of us. Right? We were getting inspired by everything happening around us. So a group of students in IIT came together and we started building a social network right out of the college. Mind you, this is when even Facebook was very small. We got institutional funding and everything was getting great. We were getting traction. But because of an unethical mistake by one of the core team members, overnight we became an unfunded startup of dropouts. After all, everybody in the team dropped out of the college, including me, to build something that we were very passionate about. I would not advise anybody to drop out, but there is a much more important lesson here, and that is, it might be tempting for you to pick your core team members based on who you know or what skills that they bring on the table. But don't overlook the soft aspects of life, like ethics, for example, or being a team player. That is also equally important. After this failure, I started working for a company which was building fantasy game for a prediction engine. It's a fancy way of saying that we were building a platform for people to come and place bets on future events. After looking back, I can safely say that we were early in the market. Timing is something that you cannot control, but it can make or break you. And that is very obvious by looking at success of companies like Dream11 right now. So how do you solve for something like timing? You talk to your real users, understand them, and build for them. That's the only way. Post this, I started working for other companies at various roles, and I started leading teams. One of the most important things I learned while managing teams is that it's very important for you to set a goal for your team to achieve. This goal has to be clear, absolute, objective, measurable. Anybody can tell you that. What is not very obvious is that if you don't set the right goal, it can backfire. I'll give you an example. During the British era in Delhi, there was a huge problem of venomous cobras. So government decided that they will put a bounty on every dead snake anybody can come up with. Initially, this strategy was successful. Population was declining fast, and everything was nice. But then, few enterprising people started breeding cobras for money. Right? Government got to know about this, and they scrapped the program. What would these people do now with all these cobras in their hand? They let them go in wild. And the population of cobras in Delhi increased more than ever. So, you not only need to set your goals properly, but most importantly, those goals cannot be played. Another thing that I learned while managing team of engineers is that we engineers sometimes fall into this trap where we start believing that technology is business. We start equating technology with business. But that's never the case. Technology is never equal to business, even in a technology company. Technology is always a tool. Focus on creating a business value. Focus on finding the right tool for the job. And that tool may not be technology after all. Another thing that I've learned while managing teams, and this is more of an sort of work, is that you might have heard about natural leaders, right? You might not have heard about natural managers. There is no such thing. Because it's a skill. Managing people is hard. You have to acquire this skill. Painstakingly acquire the skill. Managing people is one of the most important things you would do when you are leading a team. Most people start thinking about their teams as families. You're not there to create or manage a family. You're there to create a highly functional sports team where everybody has a role to play. Right? After acquisition of Asan Jobs, when we started Superset, the problem statement came from our own experience. For me as a CTO, it was painful to watch my engineers spend a lot of hours changing repetitive notifications, whereas for my other co-founder Nikita, it was more about getting visibility on those notifications. We were fortunate enough that few very smart people joined us early on and started working with us. But one of the core problems we need to solve is distribution. Because by then, a good problem statement, check. A good team, check. A funding, check. Timing, in fact, check. But distribution is something that was eluding us. How do you reach out to people or companies who are struggling with the same problems that you have solutions for? That is very important. My advice, if you're building a product, start thinking about distribution even before you are building a product. By looking at my journey, you might think that there are factors at play which are not in your control or something that you cannot predict. But that's all right. How do you succeed then? US 30th President Calvin Coolidge has an answer for you. He says that nothing in this world can take place of persistence. Talent will not. World is filled with unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. World is filled with educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. In your journey also, there would be mistakes that will be there just because you were unlucky. After all, skill and luck both are required for you to be successful. But the paradoxical nature of this world means that in order for you to be lucky, you have to firmly believe that you are in control of your journey. So, based on my mistakes, how would you start your journey? How would you not be an entrepreneur?